Hi, my name is Nicole Madier and I teach 10th grade ELA at University View Academy. We are a K-12 virtual public school. As an educator, I am most passionate about facilitating a love of literacy among my students. The clip that you are getting ready to see includes 10th grade ELA students engaged in a modified guidebooks lesson for the tragedy of Macbeth. The objectives for this lesson, as indicated in guidebooks, are to summarize Scene 1 of Act 3 in Macbeth by William Shakespeare and to analyze the development of a tragic character over the course of the text. Prior to this clip, we completed a class read aloud of Act 3, Scene 1, and then students summarized the text to solidify their understanding. This clip begins with us making connections to our prior learning by revisiting Aristotle's traits of a tragic character. Students then move into breakout rooms, which are just small groups in our virtual setting, to collaborate and complete their annotations. To support all learners, I've included some resources and scaffolds in each of the breakout rooms, including the use of group roles, a visual of the task that they will have to complete, a link to help them define each of the 4 traits as needed, and then also heterogeneous student groups to facilitate discussion and collaboration. Students will also complete their annotations on a group Jamboard, which they can then revisit as needed at the conclusion of the lesson or throughout the rest of the unit. As you view this clip, please just consider that this is a virtual lesson. Therefore, extended wait time must be implemented and communication between students is mainly via the chat pod. Occasionally, student volunteers will enable their mics to share responses in their thinking, which you will see in the clip. And I've also modified the recording just a bit to convey the full extent of the activity. However, you can see the progression of each group's collaboration in the group chat pods at the bottom of the screen. Enjoy! About the traits of a tragic character. Anybody remember the 2 traits that that Aristotle really kind of said must be present for a tragic character? Pity is one. What is the other one? Pity and fear. Perfect. Okay. Pity and fear. That's what you want your reader to understand. You want them to feel that pity and that fear for the character. So what he also said is that your character should be somewhat virtuous, right? But they don't want to be like this perfectly moral character. You want them to be somewhat virtuous, have some good qualities, but at the same time, they have to have some flaws. And that's going to lead to their downfall, right? So they have to have some flaws, some frailty, some kind of error that they make that kind of causes their downfall. So what we're going to do is we're going to look through Act 3, Scene 1, and we're going to try to find evidence of all 4 of these qualities: fear, pity, virtue, and frailty. We're going to do it in breakout rooms, and we're going to be using Jamboard. So when you get to your Jamboard, you will see, I think there might be 4 slides total, but you'll see 2 columns of text, and you guys are going to be annotating for the traits. This slide that you see up right now is in your breakout room so that you can refer back to which colors for which trait. So the first thing you're going to do when you get in there is discuss the traits. I did give you a link to dictionary.com in case you needed to read a little bit more about what each of these traits are. Then you're going to go to Jamboard and you are going to annotate the text for each trait. You're going to try to find evidence of pity, virtue, fear, and frailty before we end breakout rooms. However, for each one, we also have to add a margin note. So this is where our group note taker is going to come into play. So for everything that's highlighted in blue, there needs to be a sticky note that explains why that piece of evidence or that line shows pity. Why does that piece of evidence show, or how does it show Macbeth as a virtuous person? Okay, so for each thing that you guys highlight, you are also, the note taker will also add a margin note to explain why that particular line shows evidence of that trait. Colin, we'll talk about that reading log as soon as we're done. All right, so this is going to be just annotating Act 3, Scene 1. I'm going to put you guys into breakout rooms. You'll establish some group roles, and then you'll jump right in. It's going to be the whole scene. So I just have one page up here, but it will be the whole scene. All right, so we're going to go into breakout rooms. We have 5 of them. I am going to distribute you guys, and then I'll jump in and make sure nobody has any questions. So let's get us started. Okay, don't freak out and don't get mad at me. I just ended your breakout rooms on purpose. Sometimes I do it accidentally, but I did it on purpose this time because I noticed a lot of groups were like, oh, I really can't find anything for this. So I thought, leave open your Jamboard. But I thought that maybe we could kind of help each other out. So did anybody, you can use the class chat for this. I'm going to make it bigger. Does any group need help finding fear? Or no, let's start with pity. Does any group need help finding pity? Okay, so one of the groups who's found something for pity, would you be willing to maybe jump on the mic and explain where you found it, or like which part? Or even if you put it in the chat pod, either the mic or the chat pod, you can raise your hand and I can give you some mic rights, or just help out the group. So where can they look for pity? Yeah, Colin, absolutely. Go ahead and raise your hand and I will. Ooh, Sally put a part in here too. Awesome job. Let me give Colin some mic rights and let him explain. All right, Colin, take it away. What did you guys find?
Can you hear me? Am I good? All right. So the first part we found for pity, we only found 2, but the first part was at the very beginning of the scene, in like the first 3 lines that Banquo says, "Thou hast it now, King Commodore Glamis all, as the weird sisters promise, and I fear thou playest most foully for it." It sparks pity because he's saying that Macbeth now has it all, but he's lost part of himself. He's lost like the heroism and what's it called? Glory, kind of, because he had to commit foul acts to get it. He's lost that edge of humanity, is I guess a decent word. The first lines 1 through 3. Like the prophecy from the Weird Sisters has just changed him so much from, yeah. And then the next part that I got was on the third page. Let me check the lines real quick so you guys get there. 130 through 133. And on this lines it says no Banquo is your enemy. The murderous part of thing was so covered up by the highlighter I can't read it, but and so he must in a bloody distance that every minute of his being thrust. That part sparks pity because look at how much the power has changed him so much. It's caused him to go on his own, like just turn on his own friend and decide to kill him. His friend that he fought in battles with, he fought the war with. It has just changed him so much that he's not the same man that he used to be anymore. Yes, it does. It's a double.
I
And
was
that
going to
was
jump
it.
in and say the same thing. Love that. Love that. Awesome job, Colin. Thank you so much for jumping on the mic. I put it in here. I don't know if you saw it yet, but I like your explanation really cleared it up for me because when you first said those lines, I kept rereading them thinking like, really? And then the way you explained it really like it really did highlight that pity that you feel for him. I wanted to touch base. Sally also she put the part that talks about the fruitless crown and the barren scepter, which I know I pulled out when you guys were reading, and that does spark a little bit of pity in the reader as well, that he doesn't have descendants, he doesn't have anyone to carry on his name. But I love that your examples of pity were kind of like showing how much he has changed. I thought that was great. Sally put the lines that you just read about how he turns against Banquo, how that also shows some frailty. So I thought that was a good one because it could cross over like for multiple traits. Awesome job. So the objectives for this lesson were met as indicated by the accuracy of the students' Act 3, Scene 1 summaries and the completion of their annotations in Jamboard. The students also completed an objectives reflection as they do at the conclusion of each lesson, and they too indicated their mastery and their comfort with the objectives that we covered. As seen in the video, I did make an instructional decision to end breakout rooms a bit early in order to clarify some evidence of the traits. I noticed that some groups were struggling to find evidence, and I thought it was a good opportunity to come back together, whole group, to discuss and kind of clarify any misunderstandings. After this lesson, students did submit their completed annotations. And that was a mode of assessment for me. Students who did not accurately or sufficiently annotate the excerpt were invited to an RTI session for some intervention. Overall, I do believe that this lesson kind of showcases the need for flexibility in meeting the needs of all learners, even when the lesson deviates from the plan a bit. I hope you enjoyed.